Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. हे कृष्णा करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरंगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये। बोलो श्री राधे गोविंद भगवान की जय। श्री राधे कृष्ण भगवान की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की
जय।
हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna everyone.
कृष्णा जय।
Hare Krishna everyone.
कृष्णा तरुण। हरे कृष्णा रीना जी। ओ विनोद जी हरे कृष्णा। Right, so hopefully everyone had a nice Janmashtami celebration.
Yes.
And I know Ajay was at the Hillsborough Temple, 12 a.m. in the night.
Yeah, it was fabulous.
Different experience.
कोई गजेंद्र जी उसकी रिकॉर्डिंग है क्या कोई?
हाँ थोड़ी glimpse है actually, वो जो कीर्तन लीड किया था उसकी थोड़ी glimpse है. I will share that actually. Yeah, maybe we can play. And then also we had this kirtan at our place on 9th September, which was this Saturday, last Saturday. That was also nice. You know, we started at 2:30, went on till 8 o'clock, around 8:15 or so. So that was pretty good as well.
That was really good. Mahasankirtan.
Yeah.
Not annual, biannual, right? Just once a year.
Right. Yeah.
That was lovely.
Yeah, we also have a glimpse of that kirtan we'll share. And we have Manohar ji. Hello, sir. Manohar ji, कैसे हैं आप?
बिल्कुल ठीक.
Hare Krishna. I think you're not able to see you. It's a little dark on your camera, maybe. Yeah. I think your light is not on.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better. Much better. So we have Manohar ji also. Manohar sir is joining us from today. You know, he also lives in Mauritius only. And, you know, Manohar ji has been working at IBM and so on and so forth, and also very religious. And just came back from India. So, you know, we welcome Manohar ji to this group of reading Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are just talking like, you know, the Janmashtami celebration last week, which was there. And then we missed you, Manohar ji, at our place on Kirtan on Saturday, actually.
Yeah, no problem. I'll join the next one.
Yeah, that's fine. But so that was also nice. We'll share some glimpse of that. Yeah. So that's cool. And so we'll get started. Basically, you know, we started reading Canto 6. And as we know, there are 12 cantos in Srimad Bhagavatam. Yeah. And 12 cantos, we have completed 5 cantos. And we started Canto 6, which is about prescribed duties for mankind. In last canto, in the 5th canto, there was so much description about the universe and all these different planets. You know, how many planets we have, what is the distance of everything from Surya to Shukra to Buddha and everything. And, you know, how is Surya Dev's Rath, and then where is Garbhodaksha, Vishnu, and all the loks below Bhu, Earth, loks above us. and even the Patalok and the below that, where the hellish planets and things like that. So then Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukdev Goswami ji that, can you please tell how a human being or can avoid the hellish planets, right? How can we go back to Godhead? And so in that case, so in that sense, Sukdev Goswami is explaining that he explained Dhyan Yoga, then he explained Gyan Yoga, and then finally he said, even by these yogs, you may go to higher planets, but then you again come down. So the best is Bhakti Yoga. And then in Bhakti Yoga, devotion, you can go back to Godhead. And then he was giving an example of Ajāmila, yeah. So where Ajāmila saying Narayan, his youngest son's name was Narayan, and then how Yamdoots come at the time of death to pick him up, and then at the same time Vishnu Doots arrive, and that's the conversation we are reading right now, right? So we are reading Ajāmila's story, where Ajāmila is giving up the body, and Yamdoots are coming to pick him up because of all the different karmas he did. But then he was taking name of Narayan, and that's where Vishnu Doots also reach, and that's what we are reading now, right? So last week we read about Vishnu Doots, that the blessed messengers of Lord Vishnu, the Vishnu Dutas said, if you are actually servants of Yamraj, you must explain to us the meaning of religious principles and the symptoms of irreligion. So Vishnu Doots comes, Yamraj Doots are ready to take Ajāmila away, and that's where Vishnu Doots says that you cannot just take him away. And before that, if you are actually Dharam Rajasya, right? Dharamraj is the Yamraj, right? And if you are that, then you go to explain what is Dharm and what is Adharmasya. What are the Lakshanam of that? Like, can you explain that? That's what Vishnu Doots are asking. And that's what we are going to read from now, Shlok 39. So, Anilji.
Katham Swida Driyate Danda Kim Vasya Sthanam Meepsitam Dandya Kim Karinaha Sarve Aho Svitkati Chitra Chinnaram. What is the process of punishing others? Who are the actual candidates for punishment? Are all karmis engaged in fruitive activities punishable, or only some of them? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, so this is what Vishnu Doots are asking the Yam Dutas. And this one is a nice purpose. We are going to read this. So just Tarun.
One who has the power to punish others should not punish everyone. There are innumerable living entities, the majority of whom are in the spiritual world and are Nitya Mukta, everlastingly liberated. There is no question of judging these liberated living beings. Only a small fraction of the living entities, perhaps 1/4, are in the material world. And the major portion of the living entities in the material world, 8 million to the 8,400,000 forms of life, are lower than human beings. They are not punishable, for under the laws of material nature, they are automatically evolving. Human beings who are advanced in consciousness are responsible, but not all of them are punishable. Those engaged in advanced pious activities are beyond punishment. Only those who engage in sinful activities are punishable. Therefore, the Vishnu Dutas particularly inquired about who is punishable and why Yamraj has been designated to discriminate between who is punishable and who is not. How is one to be judged? What is the basic principle of authority? These are the questions raised by the Vishnu Dutas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So I think a lot of us, right, we keep asking what is right and what is wrong, what is punishable, what is not punishable by Yamraj, right? And also it's mentioned, of course, as we know, there are 8.4 million different species of life, right? We go through birth and death cycles, and it's being mentioned that below the human being, right, all those species, they are not responsible. They don't have that consciousness where they can advance, right, go back to Godhead. So they are not punishable in that format, but because of the laws of karma, they keep evolving, and at some point they get the human birth. But once you have the human body, right, the human beings are advanced in consciousness, so they are responsible. Yeah, and then in that, who are engaged in the pious activities beyond punishment, but those engaged in sinful activities are punishable, right? Just the simple law of karma is what is mentioned. Vinodji?
Yamaduta yuch veda pranihito dharmo adharmas tad viparyaya vedo narayana sakas savyambhur iti susdoma. The Yamdutas replied that which is prescribed in the Vedas constitutes dharma. The religious principle and the opposite of that is irreligion. The Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, and our self-born. This we have heard from Yamraj.
Hare Krishna. So, Vishnu Dutas are asking Yamdutas what is right, what is wrong, who decides that, what is the dharma. And so Yamdutas are replying, Veda Pranihito Dharmo. Whatever is mentioned, prescribed in the Vedas is the dharma, right? And the opposite of that is adharma. Why? Because the Vedas are directly the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayan. Yeah, they are coming directly from Vedo Narayana hai, Sakshat, Shambhuriti. Yeah. And what Yamdutas are saying is this is what they heard from Yamraj directly. Yeah. So that's how we decide what is right and what is wrong. And it's again some good purport here. So we'll just read this from here. Ajay?
Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 15.15, Vedais cha sarvair aham iva vedyaha. The real purpose of Veda knowledge is to know me. One who knows Krishna perfectly is liberated. As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 4.9, Janma karma cha me divyam ivam yo veti tattvataha tyaktva deham punarjanama neti mam eti so juna. One who knows the transcendental nature of my appearance and activities does not, upon leaving the body, take his birth again in the material world, but attains my eternal abode. O Arjun, one who understands Krishna and abides by his orders is a candidate for returning home back to Godhead. It may be concluded that dharma, religion, refers to that which is ordered in the Vedas, and adharma, irreligion, refers to that which is not supported in the Vedas. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Manoj ji, padhenge aap?
No, carry on, please. No, carry on, please.
Okay. You are able to see it though, right?
I have a phone, so I'm not able to see very well.
Oh, okay. Yeah, next time maybe laptop will be a better.
Yes, sure. Thank you, sir.
Sure, no problem. Yeah, Vinodji?
Yes, dharma is not actually manufactured by Narayan. As stated in the Vedas, Asya Mahato Bhutasya Ne Vasitam Tad Yad Rigvedah Iti. The injunctions of dharma emanate from the breathing of Narayan, the supreme living entity. Narayan exists eternally and breathes eternally, and therefore dharma, the injunctions of Narayan, also exist eternally. Srila Madhavacharya, the original Acharya for those who belong to the Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, says, Vedanam Prathamo Bhakt Harir Eva Yato Vibhuha Ato Vishnav Makaveda iti ahur Veda vadinah. The transcendental words of the Vedas emanated from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Vedic principles should be understood to be Vaishnava principles because Vishnu is the origin of the Vedas. The Vedas contain nothing besides the instructions of Vishnu, and one who follows the Vedic principles is a Vaishnava. The Vaishnava is not a member of a manufactured community of this material world. A Vaishnava is a real knower of the Vedas as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Vedas ka sarvair aham iva vedayah. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. No. येन सुधमान्यमी भावा रजः सत्वतमो मया है गुण नाम क्रिया रूपे विर्भावयन्ते यथा तद्. The supreme cause of all causes, Narayan, is situated in his own abode in the spiritual world. But nevertheless, he controls the entire cosmic manifestation according to the three modes of material nature, Sattvagun, Rajogun, and Tamogun. In this way, all living entities are awarded different qualities, different names, such as Brahman, Kshatriya, and Vaishya, different duties according to the Varnashram institution, and different forms. Thus, Narayan is the cause of the entire cosmic manifestation. And again, actually, those purports are pretty nice. So we are going to read this. Yeah, Anilji?
The Vedas inform us, na tasya karnam cha vidyate, na tat samat chabhya divakas cha drashyate, parasya saktur vividhaev sutyate, swabhavika jnana bala kriyacha. Svabhate Swara Upanishad. Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is almighty, omnipotent. He has multifarious energies, and therefore he is able to remain in his own abode and without endeavor supervise and manipulate the entire cosmic manifestation through the interaction of the three modes of material nature, Sattva Guna, Rajogun, and Tamogun. These interactions create different forms, bodies, activities, and changes, which all occur perfectly. Because the Lord is perfect, everything works as if He were directly supervising and taking part in it. Atheist men, however, being covered by the three modes of material nature, cannot see Narayan to be the supreme cause behind all activities. Hare Krishna.
Tarun?
As Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita 7.13, Tribhir Gunamayer Bhaver Ebhi Sarvam Idam Jagat Mohitam Nabhijanati Mam Ebhaya Param Avyayam. Deluded by the three modes, the whole world does not know me, who am above the modes and inexhaustible, because unintelligent agnostics are mohita, illusioned by the three modes of material nature. They cannot understand that Narayana, Krishna, is the supreme cause of all activities, as stated in Brahma Samhita. Isvara Paramaha Krishna Satchinananda Vigraha Anadir Adir Govinda Sarvakarana Karanam. Krishna, who is known as Govinda, is a supreme controller. He has an eternal, blissful spiritual body. He is the origin of all. He has no other origin, for he is the prime cause of all causes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, like as we have read in Brahma Samhita, right? We read Brahma Samhita, and in which Lord Brahma is praying to Lord Govind, and then he is saying Ishwar Parama Krishna, right? And what is the Ishwar? Sachidananda Vigraha. Lord Krishna is the Sachidananda Vigraha. and he's Anadi and Adi, right? Like there's no one before him, and he is the origin. Sarva Karan Karanam, right? He is the prime cause of all causes. Vinodji?
Yes, I will read. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Vinodji.
Suryo Agnekham Marudveva Somah Sandhyahvani Dishah Kam Ko Swayam Dharma Iti Hyote Daihasya Sakshinah. The sun, fire, sky, air, demigods, moon, evening, day, night, directions, water, land, and Supersoul himself all witness the activities of the living entity. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Ajay?
एतर धर्मो विज्ञातः स्थानं दण्डस्य युज्यते सर्वे कर्मानुरोधेन दण्डमहन्ति कारणः. The candidates for punishment are those who are confirmed by these many witnesses to have deviated from their prescribed regulative duties. Everyone engaged in fruitive activities is suitable to be subjected to punishment according to his sinful acts. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Arun?
संभवन्ति हि भद्राणि विपरीतानि कनगः करिणं गुणसङ्गोऽस्ति देहवन् न हि अकर्मकृत्. O inhabitants of Vaikuntha, you are sinless, but those within this material world are all karmis, whether acting piously or impiously. Both kinds of action are possible for them because they are contaminated by the three modes of nature and must act accordingly. One who has accepted a material body cannot be inactive, and sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. Therefore, all the living entities within this material world are punishable. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah? And who is speaking this right now? Right? Who is replying to the Vishnu Dutas?
Yamraj Doots.
Right. Yeah. So the Yam Doots who came to pick up Ajāmila, right? And as you remember, Vishnu Dutas asked Yam Dutas, like, hey, what is religion and irreligion? Why are you punishing whom? And they are trying to test them. And so they are replying, the Yam Dutas are now replying that, of course, as Vishnu Dutas, you are sinless, but in this material world, everybody is karmis. Yeah, we are all doing karmas. And we are doing karmas based on, right? Either we are doing pious karmas or impious based on three modes of material nature. What are the three modes of material nature?
Rajasic, Tamasic, and Sattvic.
Sattvic, yeah. So Satogun, Rajogun, and
Rajogun, Tamogun.
Tamogun, yeah, which is like mode of goodness, mode of patience, and mode of ignorance. And based on that, we are all of us in this material world doing either good karmas or bad karmas or pious or impious. But what is being mentioned is one who has a material body cannot be inactive, right? So we have to do something, yeah, which means sinful action is inevitable for one acting under the modes of material nature. And because of that, all the living entities are punishable, is what is being mentioned by Yamdutas, right? Yeah, I'd say the difference between human beings and non-human beings is that a human is supposed to act according to the direction of the Vedas. Unfortunately, men manufacture their own ways of acting without reference to the Vedas, and therefore all of them commit sinful actions and therefore punishable. This is what is mentioned here, right? Next, Anilji.
Yeah. Yen yavanatha dharmo veha samihitaha sa eva tatphalam bhunakto tatha tavat mutrave. In proportion to the extent of one's religious or irreligious actions in this life, one must enjoy or suffer the corresponding reactions of his karma in the next. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. And we all know this law of karma. Based on the karmas in this life, we either go to higher planets or lower planets, or go back to Godhead, depending on it, right? It says, ev tat phalam bhukte. And again, let's read this purport. Reenaji?
As stated in Bhagavad Gita 14.18, Urdhvam gachanti sattva-stha, madhye tisthanti rajasa, jaganya guna vrittistha, adho gachanti tamasa. Those who act in the mode of goodness are promoted to higher planetary systems to become demigods. Those who act in an ordinary way and do not commit excessively sinful acts remain within this middle planetary systems, and those who perform abominable sinful actions must go down to hellish life. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, yeah. So pretty clear. The law of karma is pretty clear. And we know how many planets are there?
14.
14 planets, right? In this universe, there are 14 planets. And we are the Earth. So we are the 7th. Yeah. And do you remember the names now of the planets above us? Yeah. So we are Bhu, right?
Bhuva Swaha.
So we have two we know, right? Bhuva, Swaha, then. So then we have Janlok, Maharlok, Taplok, and the highest is? What is the highest lok?
Satyalok.
Satyalok, yeah. The highest lok is the Satyalok, which is the Brahmalok, where who resides in Brahmalok?
Brahmaji.
Brahmaji, yeah. So Lord Brahma resides in Brahmalok. So those are the planets above us. So what is mentioned is those who are purely in the mode of goodness are promoted to the higher planetary systems. Yeah. And even they can become demigods like Bhuva Swaha, right? Where all the devatas also are there. And then those who act in an ordinary way, yeah, no excessive sinful activities, will remain in the middle planetary system, which is like Bhu, right? And then under this are, again, there are 7 planets under this. Do you remember the name? Right? So we had Sutal, Atal, Vital, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and what is the bottommost planet?
Padalok.
Patal, right? So the bottommost is Patal. So from Patal to Bhu to Brahmalok, there are 14 planets, and depending on the karmas, yeah, one gets the body on these different planets, is what is mentioned here, right? Anilji?
Yathe dev pravrastra vidya mupalabhyate bhutesha guna vaichitrya tatha yattat tathanyatrānumiyate. O best of the demigods, we can see 3 different varieties of life which are due to the contamination of the 3 modes of nature. The living entities are thus known as peaceful, restless, and foolish, as happy, unhappy, or in between, or as religious, irreligious, and semi-religious. We can deduce that in the next life, these 3 kinds of material nature will similarly act. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. And again, a nice purport, I think, explains really well. So let's read this. Ajay?
The actions and the reactions of the 3 modes of material nature are visible in this life. For example, some people are very happy, some are very distressed, and some are in mixed happiness and distress. This is the result of our past association with the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. Since these varieties are visible in this life, we may assume that the living entities, according to their association with the different modes of material nature, will be happy, distressed, or between the two in their next lives also. Therefore, the best policy is to disassociate oneself from the 3 modes of material nature and be always transcendental to their contamination. This is possible only when one fully engages in the devotional service of Lord.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.
So what is being mentioned is that, of course, as we know, based on the impact of the three gunas, yeah, we do different karmas, and then, of course, keep going into this cycle of birth, death, old age, and disease, right? But then how can you avoid that? So the best policy, what is the best policy for a human being is be transcendental to their contamination, the contamination of the modes of nature. And how is that possible? Is that this is possible only when one fully engages in the devotional service of the Lord, right? That is total surrender to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Shri Krishna. And then how and what does that mean? Surrendering means you engage in devotional service. And devotional service, what are the different ways of doing devotional service?
Shravanam, Kirtanam.
Right, yeah. So there are 9 different ways bhakti can be done, right? Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Archanam, like that, right? So that's how you surrender, you do the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Tarun?
As Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 14.26, Mam chayo vyabhi karena bhakti yogena sevate sa gunan samita yetan brahma bhuyaya kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down under any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature and thus comes to the spiritual platform. Unless one is fully absorbed in service of the Lord, one is subject to the contamination of the 3 modes of material nature and must therefore suffer from distress or mixed happiness and distress. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So one who totally surrenders, that also surrenders all the karmas, whether good or bad, right? And then he doesn't get the reaction, and then he goes back to the spiritual platform. That's what is mentioned. Reenaji?
वर्तमानो अनन्यो कालो गुणाभिज्ञापको यथा एवं जन्मान्य योरेत धर्माधर्म निदर्शनम. Just as springtime in the present indicates the nature of springtimes in the past and future, so this life of happiness, distress, or a mixture of both gives evidence concerning the religious and irreligious activities of one's past and future lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So how do you get the evidence of what's, how is the religious and irreligious activities of somebody has been performed, which can be little visible based on the past and future lives, is what is the current life. So current life can indicate how the past and life would have been, and current life will also indicate how the future life is going to be. And it gives an example of Vartamano Anyeho Kalo Gunabhigyapko Yatha, yani the nature of the spring times in that particular time, right, shows how the nature is going to be. And similarly, a person's nature can indicate the past and future. And again, nicely given, Ajay.
Our past and future are not very difficult to understand, for time is under the contamination of the 3 modes of material nature. As soon as spring arrives, the usual exhibition of various types of fruits and flowers automatically becomes manifest, and therefore we may conclude that spring in the past was adorned and with similar fruits and flowers and will be adorned in the future also. Our repetition of birth and death is taking place within time, and according to the influence of modes of nature, we are receiving various types of bodies and being subjected to various conditions. Hare Krishna.
Manaseva pure deya purva rupam vipashyati Omni namasate apurva manasa bhagavanajah. The omnipotent Yamraj is as good as Lord Brahma. For while situated in his own abode or in everyone's heart, like the Paramatma, he mentally observes the past activities of a living entity and thus understands how the living entity will act in future lives. Yeah. So it says here, one should not consider Yamraj an ordinary living being. He is as good as Lord Brahma. He has the complete cooperation of the Supreme Lord, who is situated in everyone's heart. And therefore, by the grace of the Super Soul, he can see the past, present, and future of a living being from within. The word Anumimamsate means that he can decide in consultation with the Super Soul. Anu means following. The actual decisions concerning the next lives of the living entities are made by the Super Soul, and they are carried out by Yamaraj. Okay, let's do one more shlok, Rinaji.
यथा व्यस्तमसा युक्त उपास्ते व्यक्तमेव हि न वेद पूर्वम परम नष्ट जन्म स्मृतिस्तथा. As a sleeping person acts according to the body manifested in his dreams and accepts it to be himself, so one identifies with his present body, which he acquires because of his past religious or irreligious actions and is unable to know his past or future lives. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So, like as we all know, like in our dreams, we may see the dreams and go and do so many things in the dream, and we accept that we did it. Similarly, the present body is acquired by the past irreligious or religious actions, right? But we are not able to remember the past or future lives. Is what is mentioned here. Na ved purvam param nast jan smriti sthita. Yeah? So I think let's just so let's just read the last paragraph and then we'll pause today. Yeah? Tarun.
In any case, one receives an inferior or superior body at the discretion of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Paramatma. As stated in the previous verse, Manasayavya pure Deva Purva Rupam Vipasyati Anu Mimasate Purvam Manasa Bhagwanam Aja. Everything depends on Bhagwan or Aja, the unborn. Why doesn't one please Bhagwan to receive a better body? The answer is Ajnas Tamasa. Because of gross ignorance, one who is in complete darkness cannot know what his past life was or what his next life will be. He is simply interested in his present body. Even though he has a human body, a person in the mode of ignorance and interested only in his present body is like an animal. For an animal being covered by ignorance, thinks that the ultimate goal of life and happiness is to eat as much as possible. A human being must be educated to understand his past life and how he can endeavor for a better life in the future. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what is mentioning, a human being must be educated to understand the past life and how he can endeavor for a better life in the future. Yeah. Just this Ajay.
There is even a book called Bhrigu Samhita, which reveals information about one's past, present, and future lives according to astrological calculations. Somehow or other, one must be enlightened about his past, present, and future. One who is interested only in his present body and who tries to enjoy his sense to the fullest extent is understood to be engrossed in the mode of ignorance. His future is very, very dark. Indeed, the future is always dark for one who is grossly covered by ignorance. Especially in this age, human society is covered by mode of ignorance, and therefore everyone thinks his present body to be everything without consideration of past or future. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yeah. So what is being mentioned is most of us, right, think we are this body and then we are doing all this stuff based to satisfy the body, right? Like don't even think that, okay, we are the soul, right? There's a Suksham Sharir and we know how this body is made up of and then this is temporary and how the life of different species takes place, right? 8.4 million species, birth and death and old age and all that, if that understanding is even not there, then what happens is we are covered by the mode of ignorance. And because covered by the mode of ignorance, all the karmas are just about enjoying the senses. And then that leads to all the hellish planets and all those things which are described. Okay. So we are going to pause here since it's 10:25. And we are going to, it was Janmashtami last week. So, and Manoharji, what we do is we hear like some bhajan or some kirtan last 5 to 7 minutes. And so today we are going to see the Janmashtami celebration from Mayapur temple. Yeah, Mayapur in West Bengal. There was a Janmashtami celebration. So we'll see the live darshan live at that point in time on Janmashtami for 5 minutes. Yeah, 5 to 7 minutes, and then we'll pause. So let's see that.
Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Krishna Krishna
Hare Krishna. Bolo Shri RadheGovind Bhagavan ki jai. Right? So there was a beautiful kirtan at Mayapur on Janmashtami day. Nice to hear that. And everyone have a good time. And then we'll see you tomorrow at 9:30 p.m. EST. Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Have a good night.